through Twitch. Yeah, we're gonna start from the beginning. Here we go. God. We'll skip that. We'll just be like, hey, technical difficulties. The storyteller is a dumbass. So I'll go through it quickly this time. So after several successful missions, our party has won the trust of the Torrance siblings, and I guess it was good I stumbled in then. It was, Aaron. Thank you so very much for doing that. I thought I had done all the previous sound testing, as apparently I missed OBS. So, after several successful missions, our party has won the trust of the Torrance siblings, and were tasked with a mission as a personal request. Our adventurers were tasked with investigating a stasis tower of unknown design and had shown promise in the field of arcanotech, but had suddenly failed, causing the death of every inhabitant on the floating island. Investigations found that the tower may have been purposely tampered with by guards hailing from Phaeton Beta, one of the larger floating continents and home to a nomadic people tempered by the frigid plains of their homeland. While conducting the investigation, the party was attacked by several frozen corpses and a demonic skull that had been watching them from afar. After the encounter, our adventurers headed towards the designated meeting point to find the contact that had requested the Torrens' help with a personal matter. A short walk later, and the party met up with a reanimated skeleton of one James G. McKinnon, also known by his fellows as Slim Jim, who had requested the party investigate a nearby settlement and help them fix one of his biggest regrets, being unable to reach the soul of a young child that had died in the accident and put them to rest. The party agreed and headed towards the settlement, where they found the mansion pointed out by Slim and headed inside. While inside, the party found the child, who immediately ran away, and shortly thereafter were surrounded by whispers and panic. However, after several encounters, and depending on who you asked, the well-deserved destruction of 13 sets of doors, as Riley asked, the party was able to make their way through a secret passage into the attic, where they had come across the soul of the child, now inhabiting a body made of an assortment of bones, toys, and cloth. Unknown to the party, however, the child had been tormented by the demonic skull that attacked our party previously and was hiding in the attic to stay safe from it. As our party approached, their adversary attacked them one last time, but was defeated in the end, freeing the mansion from the curse. In showing kindness and warmth the child had not known for many years, Roga, Ember, Valindra, and Hana were able to free the soul and put Slim's regrets to rest. Alright, we speedran that. We're good. We're all caught up. The four of you are still in the mansion in the attic. That's where we left off. And then, if you do remember, this is one of the smaller floating islands, I should say, that was in between Phaeton Mu and Phaeton Lambda, which is why it's a little weird that Phaeton Beta soldiers were actually here. Alright, so, after the destruction of the skull, the whispers that had tormented you the entire time have stopped, and calm has returned. So if you have any panic or mental illnesses on your character sheets, those will be cleared now. With calmer minds, you're able to take in the scene around you. The attic of the house is lined floor to ceiling with pillows, blankets, toys, and knickknacks, all frozen in the harshness of space. To your left sit a few sturdy-looking wooden chests, and before you now sits the lifeless pile of bones, toys, shiny things, and cloth, as well as the teddy bear that you handed the child. So, what would you all like to do? Always the tech. Any better?
Check 1, 2, 3.
Okay,
hey, it's gone.
Cool.
There we go.
No more echo.
Okay. I hate hearing myself. Let alone twice.
You're just like, oh god, the echoes are the worst. All right. So, yeah. Ember, can you give me a perception check as you walk towards Commander Barrington?
Boy, howdy, I sure can. And I know exactly how to do that on my sheet, which is 100% open right now and not at all closed whatsoever. And I really know where I need to click on that sheet. There it is. It's a net 1.
Oh, I love how it turned it to 10. How do you have...
I have 9 perception.
Nat 1 plus 9. All right.
Yeah.
So I need you to give me a reflex roll.
Yeah, reflex roll. That's totally, yep. Hey, okay. That's a good one.
So as you approach Commander Barrington, you can see that on the body of the now deceased construct, we'll call it, not only is there an assortment of random bones, nice, and cloth and toys as such, but there is an incredibly attractive to you stone.
Oh, cool.
You go to pick up the stone, however, and you immediately feel as though your hand is almost as though you are picking up dry ice. Even in your tiny stasis field, it is cold beyond belief. However, you're able to immediately drop it, and you kind of toss it behind you. The other three of you, can I get perception checks from you three?
Ember is just gonna draw her. What did she call it specifically?
27.
Her better greatsword, and point her better greatsword directly at the stone, and just say, "Rock cold."
It's a 19.
Okay, so the three of you immediately realize that your friend, you see the stone and it clatters on the ground and it draws the three of yours attention to it.
I have gloves on. Can I try and pick it up?
Yeah, go ahead.
I will go and pick it up.
Yes, go ahead and give me a reflex.
That's a nat 20 for a 31.
Very good, very good. So with a 31, you're able to, you walk over and pick up the stone, and your fingers grip it, and you immediately feel the exact same sensation that I explained to Ember. Even through your gloves, it feels as though if you were to hold on to it any longer, your skin might actually begin to freeze, much like if you were to stick your arm completely out of a stasis field.
I want to try and drop it in like one of the spare pouches I have.
It's too cold, you can't even pick it up. Like, immediately your body reacts to just getting it as far away from you as possible.
Can I wrap it in a cloak of protection and try to pick it up?
Yeah, so go ahead and give me a reflex.
Okay. It's not good. It's 9.
So you kind of fumble around wrapping your cloak in your hand in your cloak. However, when you pick up the stone, Raga feels an incredibly warm sensation, almost like you were sitting by the hearth in your home. There's no coldness, there's no pain in your skin, and it almost feels as though like you're a little bit drawn to it, like, something found a place where it's supposed to be.
Can I drop it into my other hand?
Yeah. And same thing. It's a nice radiating stone. Like, if you were to, a good way to think about how it feels is like, when you take, like, you're doing laundry and you take a towel out of it, like a nice fluffy one, that just nice warmth, that's how it feels. But like, the longer you hold onto it, the more it radiates over your body.
Oh, warm rock?
Can we see anything happening to Roga's hands?
You all go ahead and give me a perception check.
And they say that to this day, they're still rolling perception and reflex saves, kicking this tiny stone around the room.
Wait. If you are trained, 1 second. If you are trained in Arcana, go ahead and add 1 to your roll.
I got a 26.
28.
The three of you do seem to notice that there is a slight glow from it that was not present when the other two picked it up.
From the rock?
From the rock.
From the rock.
From the rock.
I'm just gonna turn on my detect magic thing.
Go ahead and give me an Arcana roll with that.
Keep it secret.
25. I'm rolling great on this D20.
You are, and actually, I know that exact D20. It's the light up D20 that Riley gave me so many years ago.
Oh, you still have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with your Arcana roll, and detect magic active, you feel as though it's not magic in the sense of something that you know. It does not match any of the schools that you're familiar with for spell casting, such as conjuration, enchanting, or abjuration. Nothing like that. You also do not get the sense that it will harm Roga. The only thing that you really get is that there is a very strange energy coming from it, and it is not like the stasis tower that is here or the ones that you are used to.
So this is something entirely out of like our purview in like engineering and magic and arcana.
Correct.
Didn't Roga fail the reflex save?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna look at Roga. You have an unidentified magic weapon.
Yeah. as it is a rock and I'm a dwarf, is it any like a type of mineral that I'm familiar with?
Give me a recall knowledge check with either insight as a bonus, arcana as a bonus, or history as a bonus, whichever one you're trained in.
Is history even a skill?
That actually I can't remember. I think if I remember correctly, recall knowledge basically replaced history.
Oh, okay.
There's society as a skill.
Yeah, go ahead and give me a society one. You can use your dwarven history as a society.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think I'm trained in like any of that, so not great.
So
Which might be good because you failed last time and something happened. So maybe we just fail forward on this.
you're failing upwards. So of the minerals that you are familiar with being from Phaeton, well, from your family being from Phaeton Lambda, from all your history and everything, you actually do not recognize the stone. You do recognize that it is a gemstone. So it is of, if I remember my geology correct, of a volcanic or whatever the
Metamorphic,
Thank you.
igneous.
Yes. Whatever one like quartz and stuff like that are technically. You do recognize that it is of that composition. However, not one that you recognize.
Sorry, I failed chemistry. I've got no idea.
Can I swing for engineering lord and try an idea for crafting?
Are you trying to see if it's like if someone built it?
No, the material itself. Because I'd be familiar with a lot of different materials.
Ah, that's fair. Yeah, go for it.
Engineering or crafting?
Go ahead and give me crafting.
28.
You do not. This is entirely new material to you. This is similar in composition to the crystals that are used in Arcanotech stasis towers. However, it is different enough that you do not think you'd be able to use the same magical or Arcanotech applications.
With how weird that tower situation is outside, this one being very unique, does it look similar to that
Nope.
specific tower?
It does not.
I'm just gonna try to fuck around. I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna like run around a little bit. You know, I'm gonna see if it has any sort of enhancement on my physical ability.
So you don't.
You're just mashing the buttons on the controller and seeing if something's
We're brute
wrong.
forcing this goddamn puzzle.
Get ready, everybody. 2 hours of rock investigation in a singular room. You've never seen roleplay content like this, baby.
It's like
Hey,
when you throw a gazebo at your party and they're like, it's a mimic, and you're like, no, it's a gazebo, and they're like, we cast detect magic. You detect a gazebo.
You know how like when a TV show's trying to save money, they do like a room-based episode where they
Bottle
just-
episode.
That's what we're doing right now. It's just a location.
We've had a lot of cutbacks here at Phaeton.
Yep.
We, writers' strike, whole sorts of union negotiations. We really gotta, yeah.
No, so you kind of like jaunt around, kind of do some jumping jacks and everything. You don't feel any different. Again, wherever you're holding it, like if you were like to press it to your chest or whatever, or hold it in whatever hand, you just get that slight warm sensation.
If I touch it to someone else, is it cold to them?
It most definitely is cold to them. They do not feel the same warmth as you.
I walk up next to Ember and I just stick it on the side of her arm.
Yep, that's really cold.
Yep. Ember, you get that exact same feeling as you did before, where it was almost just like if you were to take your bare hand, and touch it to a metal pole in a, Minnesota winter. Definitely not something you'd want to stick around with.
Feels like my childhood.
All right, well, should we go back to old Bony Britches and let
Why
Moe-
bother? What else can this rock do? Let's touch it to everything in this room.
I just walk around.
Just start touching things. It definitely just to fast forward and speed run this. It has no reaction to anything. If you were to hand it to Valindra, the same thing would happen as though Spoopy or Riley, their characters grabbed it. It is just you are the only one and only thing that it is reacting to. Even your magical equipment is just kind of like it's a rock.
How long are you planning on doing this? Do I have time to like unjam my gun?
I mean, how thorough would Raga be in her brute forcing this investigation?
If we need time to unjam a gun, I'll take the time.
You can unjam your gun. Go for it.
I'll talk.
Or clean out my scattered.
I'll talk to. I'll say, "Do you have a dwarf fetish?"
You're just like, all right, magic 8-ball. Here we go. So after a little bit of trying to figure out the mystery behind this stone, nothing happens. You kind of see Hana pop a squat in the corner and start doing maintenance on her gun, unjamming it and everything. And I would probably say about 30-ish minutes pass, and nothing comes to mind. You're testing it, you're touching everything, and not a whole lot. So,
What happens if you throw it?
I was just about. It's like I'm bored with this now. I just.
You just toss the stone. You're like, oh, whatever. Possible magical artifact. I don't need that shit.
If I throw it, does anything happen? It just hits the ground.
It just hits the ground, exactly like what happened when Ember kind of just like picked it up, yelped, and tossed it behind her.
Rook. This is a really poor idea that I'm about to suggest.
Match it with a hammer.
No, way worse.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
How big is the rock?
It is about the size of, I'd say probably about the size of a quarter.
Roka, do you want to really put this thing and see what it really does?
Oh no.
If anybody else said that, I would immediately be with them. But I'm a little fearful, Ember, as to where your mind could go.
You smash doors with people and then they don't trust you. Fine, whatever. And just grabs Captain Barrington. Is the bear cold? Like,
I mean, the bear's cold because it's been kind of sitting outside of your stasis field. However, it warms up pretty quickly.
Okay.
All right. So, are you all ready to leave?
Physically, yes. Emotionally, no. Spiritually, maybe never.
Does it smell like anything?
It smells like a rock.
But what
All
kind
right.
of rock?
You got something for us?
I was just gonna say I'm bored, and I'll shove it in my bag and start walking down. Is it a ladder that we climbed up to get up here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, one stone and one Captain Barrington richer. The four of you make your way back to the meeting point for Slim Jim. And as you are making your way back, you do notice that the ship Milia was piloting has docked and is waiting for you just outside of the graveyard. Up ahead past the ship a little ways, you can see two figures chatting. As you approach, Slim is the first one to turn to you, and you hear that familiar voice in your head. It's good to see you all back in one piece. How did it go?
It went fine, Slim. Just speaking out loud, calling across.
Just like shouting to him as you're walking closer.
Yeah.
Though, he's a skeleton, you can kind of tell by his body language and not its body language and not its facial expression that it does kind of relax at what you say. He goes, that's good to hear, that's good to hear. I assume you're able to find the child and maybe some information to help put this mystery to a rest?
We found a rock.
The child should now be at ease.
Thank you. And it kind of nods to you and everything. It turns to Milia, and you just kind of see Milia shrug as you don't get the message sent to your heads. But after a little bit, you all do notice that there is actually a small raven that is perched onto Slim's shoulder. This raven, which is just large enough to fit in your hand completely, but not nearly as large as mainland birds, You also notice that the bird is wearing what appears to be a plague mask fitting over its head and has no atmospheric projection around it. While you were gone, this little fella showed up with a gift that I can only presume is for you four. Please take these. And with a small bag in hand, Slim goes to each of you and places a coin about 2 inches in diameter into your hands. The coin sits warmly in your hands as you are handed them. And as soon as he kind of like hands the last coin to you, the bird kind of stretches its wings out loud, lets out a very loud squawk, and flies off, circling ahead, and disappears into the distance.
Tell us about these coins.
If you were to take a look at the coins, you could see that they are kind of copper in composition with a little bit of oxidation, that like nice teal color. On both sides of the coin are actually carvings of your busts. Both sides are immaculately. It means you're. Never mind, Tori. I'm not even going to explain that to you. So yeah, each one has your face or your bust carved into both sides, and when you look closely, it is almost a photographic carving of you. You look like you want to say something there.
Do we know who made these?
Slim kind of shakes its head and looks at you and goes, a little bit after y'all left, that there bird, I should say, as it's gone, just flew right in and would not leave me alone. Dropped the sack right into my hand, and as I kind of inspected it, I noticed that these coins had a mighty fine detail likeliness to the four of you, so I figured that if anyone should own it, it should probably be the ones it's modeled after, and held on to it until y'all returned. If you would like to know what that bird is, you can probably roll a religion or investigation check.
Oh,
I don't want to know what the bird is. I'm not rolling anything. You can't force me to know it. I'm deafening right now.
What would you use for investigation?
What was that?
What would you use for investigation?
Oh shit, I keep mixing up fucking Pathfinder and
5e.
5e, yeah.
Sorry.
If anything, it should be me. I'm the one who's like, yeah, cool, I'll just play these games back and forth and not really warp myself up. So go ahead and give me a religion, or actually, yeah, just religion.
Fuck, send it to 13.
I got a 25.
Hana, you are like, man, I didn't know they make plague masks that small for birds. Roga, you immediately, though, recognize it as you kind of sit there and ponder on it, that is a psychopomp.
I'm going to need a little more information beyond that.
So psychopomps are commonly used as messengers or guides to bring spirits to the Bone Lands, which is kind of the purgatory or afterlife of the Pathfinder universe. They come in many shapes and sizes. This one is usually just kind of a messenger or one of the lower tier ones.
Are they in cahoots with any specific gods or
gods? No, but primal forces, yes. So you do kind of remember that back in the clergy, many psychopomps were revered as almost angelic beings or working alongside angels. They are much more known for being ambivalent towards both sides. They don't really have like a they don't lean towards good or evil. They just kind of do their jobs. And so while psychopomps have been seen around disasters, it's usually just because they're there to collect and guide the souls into the Bone Lands.
Okay. So. Are there any like primal forces that like this coin would mentally be like, oh, that must be this?
You knowing that it's from the Bone Lands, let me pull up how I have this written out. It's time for a history lesson, everyone. So
Pop quiz.
Are we done talking about the bird?
Yes, we are now talking about the composition of the Phaeton universe.
Oh, thank God.
So, from kind of ancient teachings and philosophy and science and a little bit of everything, communion with the gods, the whole shebangy in tabletop, what's the word I'm thinking of? Tradition. There we go. It has been known that the universe was once made up of two forces. What those forces are, no one really knows.
Left shark and right shark.
God damn it, now I have that stuck in my head. Fuck! However, something happened, and from those two forces spilled forth the universe. One of
Middle
them,
shark.
one of them was split into four, and these four primal beings, which kind of sit above the gods in the pantheons, are death, time, fate, and creation. They're all kind of two sides of the same coin, but all four fit in together and keep each other in balance. So, seeing the coin and the psychopomp, you kind of figure that if this were connected to a primal being, which it most likely is, it would most likely be connected to the primal being of death.
Okay. Next question. Are
Yes.
all of our coins identical apart from having each of our individual faces on them?
The oxidization patterns are a little bit different, but the size, the copper color and sheen under the oxidization, all of that is the same.
So safe bet that they all came from death.
Yes.
Can I do this? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna see if I could figure out what kind of tool would have made this.
Yeah, go ahead and give me a crafting check.
Crafting or engineer?
Crafting.
A lot better because it's a 14.
This is the coins, like, you bring out your, oh, hi Gideon, you pop out your like engineer manticles and you start looking at your coin real in depth while Raga's kind of I'm presuming talking about the knowledge that she has for religion to everyone else aside from Ember, who's just kind of sitting fingers in ears.
No, nothing yet. I'm actually keeping it all to myself.
Alrighty.
Thank God I didn't want to have to canonically do that.
Hana, as you're staring at it, though, you realize that there are absolutely no tool marks on these coins. If you were to compare it to one of the gold coins in your pack, for example, even the most master crafter will still leave tool lines from the chisels that they use and everything. It's just much more subtle, and it's usually blended in better. This almost feels like it was created by a mystical force or a magical force or something as it appeared out of thin air, as it is immaculate. You could not find a single flaw in these coins or any of the other ones that you look at.
I'll just say these were created, they could not have physically been made.
Knowing that these are from death, is this like an omen?
How would Raga feel about that?
Yeah, probably not great. Why is death keeping such a close eye on us? That's all I'll say out loud. I'll just say, why is death keeping such a close eye on us? And I'll just leave that hanging in the air.
Boy, howdy, if I had a copper coin for every time I asked myself that.
If you do recall, when you had met Slim, previous campaign, it was he. It's currently it here. If you do recall what Slim was talking about earlier, it did mention that death was a little bit weird nowadays. When it originally was risen from the grave, it was a failed necromancy spell. And so instead of being completely dominated by the necromancer, the skeletons were actually kind of free-willed. And they immediately turned on him and kind of murdered him. And even though the summoner, or the necromancer that raised them, was dead, the entire necropolis stayed reanimated. And so this has been something that has been going on for at least, I think that would be like 5 years pre-shattering. And there's been weird little things since then. If you kind of want to roll we'll do a recall knowledge. What would be a good roll for that? Let's Saving throw for recall knowledge. Let's do. If you want to give me a recall knowledge religion or recall knowledge nature roll. 10, and then anyone else also can join in on this and help out.
Recall knowledge what?
Recall knowledge or religion or nature. Y'all kind of are trying to remember things in your past adventures that may have been weird, and it's on the tip of your tongues, but you just can't remember it. Things that were supposed to be dead might have not stayed dead or poofed or done weird things, but you can't really think of any concrete examples.
Oi, Senor Skelly.
Slim just kind of looks at you and cocks its head. Can I help you?
Yeah, this necromancer, right? He's been dead a while.
Yeah.
Do you happen to keep any of his effects?
Well, and he kind of, it turns to Milia, and Milia just like is staring at him like dumbfounded. He's like, well, we did keep the book that he had on him, but it was just a spell book from a wizard. Nothing quite like a research journal or anything like that, but we gave him a proper burial and kind of just forgot and moved on.
Right, did he have like a special cloak or any sort of amulets or markers or?
No amulet, no jewelry or anything like that. He did have a weird black robe, but I think it was just something from his mother's basement.
Did we read that book?
Yes, and Slim pardons itself and kind of walks down to the necropolis, and a few minutes later comes back with it. It's a big dusty old tome. Looks like it's seen some better days, as it's kind of existed in the harshness of space for 150 some odd years.
Haven't we all?
Mm-hmm. And hands it to you and goes, this is the book. We kind of, kept it just in case we could possibly decipher something from it, but the more we looked at it, the more we just found that it was pretty much just your average wizard spellbook.
Detect magic on the book itself, like in that vicinity.
The book itself isn't enchanted. It seems like a normal book. So definitely not something from a high level wizard who would probably, from your understanding, would cast like spells and enchantments on it to kind of keep it locked or deciphered. This was very much just a amateur job.
Can I do religion or occultism?
Yeah, go for it.
Which would religion's better for me, but if you'd rather I do occultism.
So religion would be able to tie it to any gods that deal with necromancy. Occultism might see if it's related to any organization in history that would have it, or if it's similar to any organization that deals with stuff in the occultic brand.
If no one's opposed, can I do both?
Yeah.
Okay. Religion 16, occultism 17.
So we'll start with occultism. So this kind of seems, in your dealings with the church, you've definitely dealt with a couple different cults. They're mostly just small time things like that. Nothing like that like super pops out to you and is like, oh man, like this is this cult immediately. So you kind of just get the feeling that it's a very run-of-the-mill, like, some younger wizards have studied, maybe gotten kicked out of college or something like that, and have just turned to more occult arts to kind of get their way. You can definitely tell that the language of this is very much older than the spell casting that you're used to. So this is probably a book that was found many years before the Shattering. So not the 5 to 10 years before the Shattering that Slim was reanimated from. Looking at it based on religion, you do see that it shares a couple names in there with gods that are associated to death, such as I can't remember a couple of them off the top of my head, but like Anubis is one that's actually associated with death in this universe. But it's not, it's kind of just your general run-of-the-mill necromancy. There's no invoking in the name of, there's no offerings to a specific deity. It's just kind of calling upon the gods of death. And this is death with a little d, not death with a big D, such as the primal being.
Gotcha.
Hey, listen, some people are showers, not growers.
You got to start somewhere, right?
All right. Bear with me. One last test. Rock plus book.
The book does not do anything. It doesn't react to the stone or anything. And it doesn't freeze or engulf in flames. Just kind of like the cloak and the armor and everything. It just kind of sits there.
Okay. I'll put the rock back in my pack. Let's see. You doing anything with this book?
Slim shakes its head. If you need
Can we
it to
hold
study it, you can go ahead and hold on to it.
Shove that in the bag too.
Alrighty. Go ahead and add amateur necromancer spellbook to your pack. And then if you want to spend time deciphering it in between missions or when you have downtime, you can you'll be able to decipher some of the spells that are transcribed there, and if they overlap, you'd be able to cast it like it is a spellbook from a sympathetic caster. After a little while, and after you all are doing your tests and everything, Milia does kind of chime in after checking her ATSD, and she goes, as fucking strange as all this is, I think it might actually be best that we move on. We can't draw too much attention, and I'm sure my brother is absolutely biting his nails, waiting for us to get back and to report in with everything that y'all found. She turns to Slim and goes, Slim, it is always a pleasure, and we will definitely try and visit soon. And they kind of embrace and hug. And then the five of you turn to the craft, board it, and you hear Milia say, buckle up, everyone. We're going to try and make it back in record time. And after a brief pause, the force of the ship's acceleration pushes you back into your seats as you sail off into the sky. And looking out the porthole, you can see a figure of Slim waving to you as they steadily become smaller and smaller the further the ship travels. So, after a few hours of space travel, in between the smaller floating continent and the continent of Phaeton Mu, the Guild Association the Guild Association port comes into view. You dock the ship, and the five of you disembark. As you wind through the Guild Association's corridors and everything, you make your way to Varric Torrens, the brother of Milia. You make it to his office, knock on it. Milia just kind of gives a quick knock and opens the door, walks right in, and waves the four of you in. Inside, you see not only the very familiar silhouette of Varric, but you also see someone that you do not recognize. Varric stands, and he and this figure turn towards you, and he goes, the four of you have finally made it back. As you know, this was supposed to be a secret mission, but it was not one that was actually designed or given by me. He kind of puts his hands out and goes, I would like you all to meet the Matriarch of our Guild Association branch. This is Ame Rin. They are current Matriarch of the Guild Association, and is one of the longest sitting members of the actual council for this association. And Ame turns to you and they bow, and Ame is about the same height as Valindra. They are an elf of remarkable beauty, and you can kind of see that they're dressed in very fine leathers. They have daggers at their sides, but they're very relaxed when they're looking at you. Let's see. Valindra, can you give me a recall knowledge roll for history or nature? God, my throat.
Please hold while I find this.
Please hold.
Dun,
happen?
dun, 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 dun,
How
dun,
fantastic would it be to just have
dun,
elevator
dun,
music on the ready?
It'd be great to have that. It would also be great to have the mariachi band music from the Warthog in Red vs. Blue. Like both of those would honestly be just so
I,
good.
I may have both of those.
Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. I need to open this real quick. I need to hide it from Spoopy so that they don't see. Okay, so with a 17, while they do not look, you can't tell if Ame is older than you or not, Tori. But you do actually realize and recognize that they are an Ironwood elf just like you. So you both actually hail from the same area ancestrally.
Oh, lovely.
Yes. So Ame kind of like looks at you all and goes, yes, as you may have heard, I am the current and the longest holding matriarch of this guild association, and actually upon the council of guild associations, I am also the longest sitting member. That being said, my wheeling and dealings among the other patriarchs, matriarchs, and matriarchs tend to be a little more behind the scenes. Unfortunately, though, with a matter such as this, we kind of had to step out of our, shall we say, alliances and figure out what is going on. That is why I charge Torrens here, or the Torrens here, with finding some good, well, for lack of better words, pawns to figure out what is going on. I need a full detailed report as soon as possible. However, I do have things to do, so I'm going to let you all kind of give that to Varric here, and he will eventually get it to me. But I needed to see the faces of my lovely guild members who have been so very helpful in this matter. And they kind of turn to Varric and go, I expect this. I expect the report before the end of the day. They bow to the four of you and they walk out of the room. A little cold, but for someone who is dealing with what they are dealing with, you kind of learn to look past that, Varric says. And he goes, but they are absolutely correct. This is a matter of utmost importance. And given what you all have found, it might be more urgent than we thought. So, with that being said, please enlighten me as to what you all found with the stasis tower.
Found Captain Barrington.
He just kind of looks at you and nods, goes, I'm happy. Hana, Roga, Valindra.
This tower wasn't like the rest.
How so?
They tried something new. It was a small tower, but it generated a medium dome. It shouldn't have been able to do that. It failed and the entire colony died, obviously, but it only failed because somebody tampered with it. They were successful.
Oh yeah, all of that happened as well. I forgot.
But the crystal now, it looks like almost like lava. It doesn't look like it should.
It looks almost dormant.
Yes. It's a void of anything almost at this point. And I don't know how they got such a small tower to generate a much larger field. It shouldn't have been able to be done, but there was Thomas Packard was the one trying to improve the tower and do this on his own. They were trying to surpass us.
Surpass us how? You mean like our Arcana
towers?
Okay.
They were trying to make better towers and entirely cut us out of the equation.
He's taking in what you're saying and everything, and he turns to Millie and he goes, Sister, is this similar to what you had found in your initial ones? And she kind of nods and goes, yeah, no, they're absolutely correct. Thomas Packard, though, is the name I have not yet heard. And she turns to you four and goes, did you find any information on this gentleman, or possibly where he came from or anything? Associates he was working with?
he lived there in the colony. His family and himself, unfortunately, they perished when the colony fell.
Hmm.
The the thing we were there to put to peace, I believe that was his child.
Ah, yes, Slim had mentioned that. Um, you kind of see Varric is like starts biting his nails a little bit, lost in thought.
And MK. There was some correspondence within MK about the tower from Packard.
Hmm. Any indication of where these people might have come from?
The guards that, or the folks that were tampering with the tower, they had a tattoo indicating they were from Phaeton Beta.
A tattoo.
An orb wrapped in chains,
Hmm.
pierced by a sword.
And Var kind of turns to Millie and goes, "Can you go and scour after this our records to see if that is a tattoo used by any cults or organizations that we know of?" And she nods and goes, "I'll take care of it." And he goes, "Yes, we've dealt with Phaeton Beta before, but we've never actually noticed that they've had tattoos on them signifying such. Most of the Phaeton citizens, you can identify them based off of clothing or stuff like that, but organizations..."
Clothing is, but the tattoo was different. They were from Beta, but they had this tattoo.
Okay. And he's like, that makes much more sense. He goes, them being from Phaeton Beta, though, is troubling, as we've had trouble and conflict with them in the past. I don't know how well you all know your history. However, in the initial creation of the Guild Association and sharing of information, the members of the Guild Associations from Phaeton Beta were striving for more of an archaic form of ruling. As you all know, we have, publicly elected officials that work in more of the civilian sector of things, while the Guild Association is run mostly by the public and kind of takes care of the more run-of-the-mill things, adventuring, mercantilism, exploration, research, stuff like that. However, Phaeton Beta, their guild association, the government they had set up was actually more of one and the same. Much more archaic, to harken back to the days of empires, and so we've never quite seen eye to eye.
Oh, they're a bunch of fascists, is what you're saying.
Yes. He sees what Ember, he picks up and goes, "Well, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck," and he just kind of leaves it at that. He goes, "Yes,
Must be a dead duck."
Well, while we wish not violence upon our brethren in times such as this, it is not wont to say that we do not defend ourselves with all the fire and fury that we can."
Listen, you have a public role. You can't say these things. I get it. We all understand that we're a peaceful, whatever.
Yeah. Millie kind of turns to Vark and goes, "There's a reason I like her." And Vark is just like, shakes his head and he goes, "At least you understand the tape that we have to kind of weave ourselves through." That being said, a large portion of the problem is the fact that, yes, we are run by the public, but we cannot overstep the public's bounds. That, as you've said, will just create, we would repeat the history of pre-Shattered Phaeton, where you had warring tribes and warring nations, and we have taken great strides for peace. This is why you all finding Phaeton Beta to have not only been present, but show markings that are not normal for denoting the nationality of a person or from where they hail, is a little troubling, to say the least. And so I think at this point, the proper thing to do is to give you all a well-deserved vacation, and we will, of course, be in touch. Now, I, of course, ask that you keep this information and your mission fairly silent. And while, you know, the six of us in this room do know what's going on, only a very select few people do. That being said, do not worry if you are thinking about it. Our Baron does know of this. But again, just like we have to, he also has to keep up a facade to keep the public calm. So,
I think we're being watched.
what was that?
I just want to point out that it's possible our group is being watched.
We have taken great strides to make sure that that is actually not happening. However, I feel as though you do not believe me when I say that.
We have indications that there might be another party interested in our actions and maneuvers.
Yeah, there's like some bird or something. Oh, Roga, and like the worst stage whisper. Roga, do you want to tell them about the rock?
I wasn't going to, no.
Oh, we don't need to bring it up then. Okay, yeah, just the bird.
Just he kind of just stutters and looks at his sister, and she just kind of shrugs, and she's like,
"It was an omen of death, capital D, death."
I didn't want to know that.
and Millie is like, oh, yes, and she turns to her mother and goes, "There was a visitor, that I had found. When I had visited Slim, to pick up our lovely team here, there was a visitor upon its shoulder. That is the bird they're talking about. And Varric is still completely lost, mind you. He's just like, okay.
I'm just gonna produce my coin and show it, and just this could not have been made. There is no indication that a tool could have made this.
Varric just kind of looks at you dumbfounded and just like looks at his sister, and she's like, let me handle it, and walks over, and she starts checking the coin, looking at it, and she's like, this is marvelous. Like, this looks like a photograph of you or a projection from an ATST. Like, she kind of.
That's why I was slightly confounded. I don't see any tool marks whatsoever.
Or a token.
And Millie's just like, no, you're absolutely correct. Like, there's nothing that I can see on this. And she looks at you, Rogan, and you go, and you said capital, you're speaking of like the primals, right?
That's what I believe, yeah.
And she kind of just looks at like Varric, and Varric is still dumbfounded. And it's just like, this is the first I've heard of it. He goes, well, I guess at this...
I mean, I'm a little rusty on it. It's not very necessary information in the post-shattering world, but that's, just what I've...
He's like nodding, still just like trying to take this information. He's like, all right, okay. Here is...
Okay.
The order of operations that we will take. He goes, the four of you are on mandatory vacation. Take time off. We will gather the information we need. We'll be able to present you and kind of point you in the direction forward when we actually have a direction too. If anything changes in our investigations, of course, we'll let you know on secure channels. And it seems that your claims of being watched are much more than claims at this point. So we will, on our end, do what we can to make sure the four of you are safe. And that information such as this doesn't get out. And Milia hands the coin back to you. And he's just, again, still just kind of dumbfounded. Milia's like, we'll be in touch. Take your time off. And yes, Roga.
So, you'd say that we're holding a lot of information right now that would be like, classified secret information.
Yes.
Right, so like a higher security clearance kind of level of information.
Yes.
So wouldn't you say that, having that much responsibility should come with maybe an increase to the pay that we receive for providing, our skills, which obviously you couldn't trust any of the other.
You you kind of like feel like a little like a notification on your ATST. And Milia just kind of points at it, and all four of you feel this, by the way. And you take your ATST out, and it basically just reads, it's a receipt, and it's like you basically see that every shop in town has like a tab that's paid forward for you of numbers that you did not know were possible. Varric goes, "We have taken great strides to ensure that you will continue working with us, but also that when I say this is a mandatory vacation, you can take it as a mandatory vacation."
Hail democracy, and then Ember just
Just dips out.
All right, drill sergeant.
Yeah, so basically, the four of you have tabs paid for anything luxury based, so taverns, restaurants, hotels, anything like that. You basically have the company MasterCard that you can just swipe and be completely free. So he's, Ember just beelines it straight out of the door, just no questions asked, I'm assuming, just fuck it. And Varg laughs to himself and is like, well, I feel as though she understands exactly what is happening. Yes, so the four of you have a fully paid vacation. You, of course, are free to do whatever you want on it. But at the same time, one of the other things that will be accessible for you we feel as though you are not only experienced enough, but responsible enough to start using Arcanotech equipment. So once you are done with your vacation, we will most definitely get you in some of the engineering laboratories to explain how to use it all, as well as get you suited with some Arcanotech equipment to make sure that, you're fighting fit and fully equipped for the battlefield, or whatever mission we require of you.
Hana's eyes are gonna light up. Does it have to wait until after the vacation?
Yes, because again, you have all been through a lot. You all have been doing a fantastic job. And at this point, you are working to the point where you are reaching burnout, and we will not have that.
Bunch of millennial snowflakes.
God damn it, Tori. So, with that, Milia kind of like, is like, so, again, all of you need to go and relax, and we will take it from here. And kind of like shoos you out the door and walks you out. Ember, you're already just like out on the street, like, where the fuck is everyone? And
not even I know exactly where I'm going.
I figured exactly where you were going. So the three of you exit the guild association steps. Milia, of course, like waves at you from the top of the steps as you walk down, and you all get the sneaking suspicion that Ember is at her favorite haunt, which is one of the local bars. I gave you a name of it, right? And I don't remember.
You did? I don't. That's not where she's going.
That's not where she's going. Okay. So I guess then we will kind of figure out what you all want to do. But we'll start with Ember and go around the table from her. So where is Ember going?
She is going to the finest tailor in town.
Alrighty. So you sprinting through the streets, just mission in mind, trying to find the best. You're tearing through the mercantile quarter, and you find the fanciest building you can find. And you like run up to it, you see the door, you fight the urge to just break down the door, and you just kind of like gently open it. In this shop are some of the finest textiles you have ever seen. Anything from a three-piece suit to a ballroom gown lines the walls, mannequins, and everything. In the center, there's an Arcanotech projector that is just kind of like cycling through different fashions. And behind all of this, there are some, there are people like mingling about, looking at everything. And you see against the far wall is a counter with a gentleman behind it. And he's just kind of like, doing the normal work and everything.
Mm-hmm. Beelining to the counter. Um, Hi. I have a special request.
Mm-hmm. He kind of like cocks his head and looks at you and goes, do you mean like a commission? Or
Something like that, yeah. You should find that I have a tab open here, I believe.
can I see your... I'm assuming...
Yeah, yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. He takes your thing, or your ATST, and he brings it to the counter, takes his, and it clicks on it. And like you see his eyes go wide for a second, and he hands it back and goes, yes, you have a tab paid for you. Miss Ember, am I correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. What can I do for you? You know, almost literal money, like money
Yeah.
symbols in his eyes, just like...
And very carefully out of her bag, she will take Captain Barrington. And she's she's well loved, but unfortunately time has taken and she's been in void for a while. So if you could stitch him up and make him a lot better, I would really appreciate that.
Do you have any request? So you want a restoration of him? Do you have any requests for accessories or possible things to go along with him?
A matching outfit with me?
He just kind of like looks at you, looks at the bear, looks at you, and goes, "For fine dining or..."
That would be great, yes.
Okay. And he nods and nods and he goes, "We will be in contact with you and we will take
Okay.
very good care of him." And he kind of walks to the back and, disappears, comes back and he goes, "Our tailors say that it should only be at most a couple days, but we will be in
God.
contact with you immediately."
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. And then she's just going to walk out.
I absolutely fucking adore this. All right. Roga, Valindra, and Hana, what are you three doing?
I'm immediately going to my dad's shop.
Going to your dad's shop?
Yeah.
All right. Valindra and Roga, what are you two doing?
I'll walk towards the shop with Hana, and then I'm gonna split off and go to the that big like artisans guild. I want to see if I can get was it the head of the guild there or whoever the head honcho that we talked to there before. I want to see if I can get him alone in a room and get him to look at this rock.
Oh, yes. So you want to talk to, let's see, not Forge Master Miller. You want to talk to lead artificer Byron Irontide.
Yes.
Okay, so yes. Let's see, lead smith of the branch, Byron. Okay, yeah. So yeah. You if anything, you'd actually kind of circle back up into the guild association.
Oh, okay, I
Yeah.
gotcha.
So Artificer Byron, Byron, I can say the names of my own actual characters. He is very well known to basically from dusk till dawn always being in his workshop. And if he's not there, he's definitely out like playing with the like animals on the street. It's still like pretty good midday, like 4 p.m. at the worst. So yeah, you just be like, all right, well, if I want to find Byron, I know exactly where to go, and you just head back up into the artisan guild. Valindra, what about you? Putting you on the spot, Tori.
Want to do the board thingies if there's any.
So there are
I'm
none
not
for
allowed
you.
to do board things,
Nope,
am I?
Nope.
Okay.
That's not part of a vacation, Tori.
Listen, okay.
I know some of you are workaholics, which is exactly why I'm not letting you do board stuff.
That's such a Valindra thing to do, to immediately try to pick up more work.
It's just like dollar signs in her eyes, and she's just like, but what if I get more?
Not all about the money, okay? Some of us just want to be loved.
I mean, you have 3 other fantastic companions. And now Captain Barrington.
Well,
Yeah,
in theory.
exactly.
I don't know what I was gonna do then. That was my.
I'll invite Belinda to come with me to the shop.
Okay. All right. So Valindra, would you take that invitation?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So
Before they go, I just want to say I'll meet you guys for dinner, and I'll name the favorite haunt and just take off.
okay. So
Goodbye.
we'll actually start with Raga then. So Roga, again, you wave them, you give them that message. You immediately just start like beelining it towards Byron's office. The halls are pretty empty, but you definitely hear like the sounds of like people like smithing and like crafting and everything. Not a whole lot of chatter or like footsteps. It's just the sound of like people working. As you weave your way down the hallways and everything, you do find his office. Doors are open, and you just see him basically desk, paperwork, and just like tomes and everything scattered about, head and nose in the book. Doesn't even notice you walk in.
Yeah, I'll close the door quietly, and then I'll walk up and I'll just part the stacks of paper, and I'll put my chin up on the desk and say, "Want to see something cool?"
And you say that, and immediately he is just like, "Cool, you say." Like fucking nose to cocaine hound, just immediately interested.
I'll reach in the bag. I'll hold the stone up overhead and say, "I found a rock."
You say that, and he kind of like, is this a prank? Did Milia set you up for this?
I'll hold the rock out and just drop it in his hands.
You drop it, yeah. So like you hold the stone out and like get ready to drop it. You drop it in his hand, and he immediately just drops it and goes, "What in the bloody hell?" And he looks at you and goes, "What is this?"
That's what I came here to ask you. You see, I'm the only one who can touch it.
And he looks at it and goes, "Well, okay, that would make sense. You literally dropped it in my hand. Have you told anyone else about this? Have you ran any tests? You just..."
So, I'll let him know that I told my party and just kind of walk him through the tests that we did do.
Yeah. So, you regale him with the tales of everything, how it was cold on contact to everyone else but you, that they went through the same stuff as he did.
And I'll make sure not to give too much detail about where and how we found it. I don't want to piss anybody off.
Yeah. Very, very smart. And he's listening. He's like, "Well, I can appreciate how thorough you are. That is for sure." And he looks at it, and he's like, "All right." And he opens up his drawer. He pulls out like a set of like tongs and stuff, and he picks it up. And you can see that like as he picks it up, even his hand, he like looks at it and he's like, "Gosh, cold even like this." He puts it. He reaches another other side of his desk, and he pulls out like this little plate, and he puts it on it. And the plate kind of just holds it suspended in midair. And he brings his ATST over, and he starts tapping on it and everything. And he goes, "This is astounding. This is the composition. While it looks very similar to something like a garnet or an emerald, the chemical compounds of it are completely different." And he just starts like going off full like way over your head information, just like spouting all this stuff and everything. And he's like, "A stone like this shouldn't hold any magical residue, but it does, but it's not any magic that like we know of," and all this stuff. And he just info dumps on you. By the end of it, you do figure out that he has no idea where this could have ever come from, and he's never seen anything like it, but it is something that is incredibly special, especially since it is not only creating absolute cold to everyone who touches it, but to you it feels warm, and you're able to handle it without any protection or anything. At the end of it, he goes, "The only concrete answer I can give you is that I don't think this is from our plane of existence." But he goes, "I believe that anyone, no matter their level of expertise or education, can see that you being the only person you've been able to find that can handle this, obviously it's something that's meant to be with you. Like, even with tools, it's hard for me to handle this."
Do you have any like a hypothesis as to why I'm the only one who can?
Yeah, well, I am definitely a person of science, and while I understand that the gods do exist, I don't have faith in them. So I can't give you some, like, big prophecy, religious mumbo jumbo, if that's what you're looking for.
I wasn't sure. There are many things that only I felt. I'm the only dwarf. I'm the only ginger. I'm the only, holy person. I'm just trying to.
That makes sense. Byron is a dwarf as well, though. I don't
Oh,
actually.
I didn't realize that.
No. You're good. I don't actually think I said that. Aside from
Gotcha.
your very initial meeting with him. So yeah. The other thing though that you and he both noticed is that so Byron actually has a artifact arm. It is entirely mechanical, and even with his mechanical arm, touching it, he couldn't touch it with that arm. Still, it would give him the same sensation. So he's looking at it and he goes, the only thing that I could really think of this that would equate to it would be like the artifacts from old, the weapons that our forefathers wielded against forces that were far beyond their ability, that attuned to them, and that were either gifts from the divine or tools of creation that were made by masters that do not exist in this day. Things of that, like things of legend. What it is, though, we don't know. We know that it reacts to you in a positive way. We know that it reacts to, so far, everyone else that we've tried in a negative way. So, going forward, there are two things that I can say. One, we can sit here and we can test it, and we can try and find everything out, and I can keep you updated. Maybe we can find someone else who it reacts well, and we can rule out some of the things. Maybe it is a cleric only thing, maybe it is a female dwarf thing only, maybe it is a ginger thing only. We don't know. So we can test like that, or we can you can take it on your way and you can find out through experience. Science can only give us so much if we don't have the experience and the knowledge to back it up.
I'm leaning more towards that option. Now understanding that it's hard for you to handle, is there any way to fashion it so that it'd be easier to carry, whether it's something I could wear or a case that I can carry it in?
You could easily probably find a jeweler to take measurements and then fashion it would basically be a wire cage that they would then hand to you. You would hand tighten it, and then it would just fashion it into like a necklace, a ring, or a pendant or something, or a bracelet or something like that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah, and you grab it from the stasis field. He kind of waves you off, and you turn and head out. Stone in hand, and possibilities abound. So, Spoopy and Valindra. Well, I should say Hana and Valindra. Why do I keep mixing your names and your characters' names? I don't know. Someday I will eventually figure out which one I'm going to stick with. Today is not that day, apparently. Hana and Valindra, you two are going to see Hana's dad. Hana, what did you want to do in your dad's shop?
I'm going to burst in and be like, Doc, I need improvements on my guns, and I'm fairly certain they're paying the bill.
And seeing that, and he goes, they're footing the bill? And you just see, the galaxy brain, possibilities go abound. Valindra, you're looking in on this, and you just see two absolutely nerdy people. Just you're lost, right? This is not your usual realm of expertise, and they're just spitting possibilities and everything, and just going back and forth, and you're just kind of there out of your element.
Also very clearly not biologically related.
Yeah, you do also realize that Hana, while looking like, a female human, is calling a very short, fat dwarf dad.
Hell yeah.
I have a question.
I have an answer.
Is this the best blacksmith in town?
He is one of the best. So Hana's dad is renowned for his work. He actually is, while not the best blacksmith in town, he is one of, if not the best gunsmith in town. He does do work on other things, though, obviously, but his area of expertise is in armoring and gunsmith.
Okay. Can I interrupt this mildly, real quick?
In character
As
or out of character?
in character, yeah. As they're talking and really excitedly, and Valindra is just sort of like off in a little corner.
Mm-hmm.
Ember just walks in, sees that they're talking, and then just like in a moment in the conversation is just like better, and then just like slams the great sword down, and then like turns, and then also says, "Also a miniature one for a bear? Okay." And then grabs Valindra by the wrist, and is just like, "Come on, Valindra, we need to do something."
Okay.
What can I go with me?
Yeah, he's just completely confused. No explanation given. You just,
I said better. What more is needed?
No, like, yeah, no, I mean, you know, he's still dumbfounded because you just literally were like, better, tiny one, girl, go. Like,
That was the Linda and Ember, by the way.
yeah, he definitely looks at you and he nods and he's just like, you told me stories, but stories only do so much. And he's like, all right, okay. Game plan. So, better sword, tiny. What is with the tiny sword? And he kind of just looks at you.
There's a stuffed bear involved, I think.
He's like, oh, okay. Better sword, matching tiny sword, gun. He's like, all right. I can do
I
it.
said the scattergun and the flintlock because he doesn't really have a scattergun now.
Guns. Correction. So, yeah.
Also, prison on the armor would be nice too. That and you don't have a lot of time.
So, what I will say is, go ahead and look for one upgrade to each of the items you put down, and that can be, changing the metal composition of it, adding enchantments to it, or anything. He will be able to do one complete upgrade on everything that you give him, and it'll, take however long this conveniently timed vacation episode is going to take. That being said, though, we have been going for about an hour and a half. We're going to take a small break, and then when we get back, I think we will be joining everyone in the fancy tavern that Roga was saying to meet at. Roga, yes.
Before we break quick,
Yes.
my next stop was going to be to look for Hana at the blacksmith.
Yeah. So as you approach the blacksmith, you would see Valindra getting dragged out by Ember, and then you would basically be walking in at the end of that, like, shenanigans, just seeing a very, like an older dwarf, balding, like gray in his beard, just completely confused as to what's going on, and Hana just standing there. And that would be the scene that you would walk in on.
Oh God, come eat my dad.
Hello, Dad.
And he looks at you and goes, hello, daughter. I'm new to all of this. I am sorry.
That's
Okay. Right, Roga. I feel like maybe we've met before, but I don't remember exactly.
Possibility. I humble blacksmith shop, but we do get a whole bunch of work and everything. So if you've been around town, especially in the market stalls, we've probably bumped into each other at least once or twice.
Sure. That's great. You do good work. Hana. Hey, I need you to design something for me.
Ooh, okay.
Can you design a housing for the rock? I wanna get it done by a jeweler, but I don't want to actually give them the rock. So if you could design it for me, that'd be great.
I could do that. Do I have enough materials from the shop just to make it?
Yeah. Because, like, unless you wanted to do, like, platinum wire and, like, a fucking, like, weird dragon bone necklace chain, you could easily just fashion something that looks pretty good. Go ahead and, before we break, go ahead and give me 2 crafting rules. One for the chain, one for the pendant.
21 and 24?
Okay, yeah. So it takes Hana no time. You know, taking very careful measurements while the stone is in your hand. You know, she like builds a nice wire cage. You make it kind of fancy with some like filigrees on it and everything, and like you know, like a nice like cross stitch pattern on it. Hands you the pendant cage. You're able to put the stone into it, and you're kind of just clamp it down as Hana directs you to, and then she just hands you like a really nice like silver chain. You're able to clamp it onto the pendant, and boom, you have a necklace. Yep.
Yeah, I'll tuck it away one ring style.
If I can put some flair to it, I kind of want to shine some copper into it to kind of match her hair.
Okay, yeah. You definitely have that around the yeah. So it's a very nice like stylized necklace. And like again with those rolls, it takes you absolutely no time. You're able to just kind of like, you know, you look at your dad, you ask him where it is, he points you. You know, he's like, you know, we got copper over there, we have silver over there. There's even some of the stuff like this, and you just get it done.
Well, you have my gratitude. Thank you.
All right, so let's take a break. We are going to come back in, let's say 15 minutes so that we can all grab some snacks. So if you're watching, take this opportunity to stand up, stretch, and get some hydration and all that good stuff. You don't want to get blood clots in your legs. We'll be back in 15 minutes. So if you're watching this live, it'll be 1:25 p.m. PST and 4:25 p.m. EST. Hey, I can do math. And in the meantime, I will put on some smooth jams and put our BRB back.